It took us all morning just to get around that. The poor girl could hardly make herself talk. She was shaking all over when they arrived. We took a walk around the grounds, alone, and I read her bit by bit. A feeler here, a planted suggestion there, just getting her used to the idea and trying to reassure her. After a while, she was smiling. She thought the lagoon was lovely, and by the time we got back to the main building, she was laughing, talking about herself, beginning to relax. Then I gave her a full blast, quickly, only a moment or two. "Don't be afraid. I hate him, yes, but I won't hurt you for anything. Let me come in. Don't fight me. We've got to work as a team." It shook her. She turned white and almost passed out for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. "I see," she said. "It feels as if it's way inside, deep inside." "That's right. It won't hurt, I promise." She nodded again. "Let's go back now. I think I'm ready to try." We went to work. I was as blind as she was at first. There was nothing there at first, not even a flicker of brightness. Then, probing deeper, something responded. Only a hint, a suggestion of something powerful, deep and hidden. But where? What was her strength? Where was she weak? I couldn't tell. We started on dice. Crude, of course, but as good a tool as any. Dice are no good for measuring anything, but that was why I was there. I was the measuring instrument. The dice were only reactors, sensitive enough, 2 balsam cubes tossed from a box with only gravity to work against. I showed her first, picked up her mind as the dice popped out, led her through it. Take one at a time, the red one first. Work on it, see? Now we try both. Once more, watch it. All right now. She sat frozen in the chair. She was trying. The sweat stood out on her forehead. Aaron sat tense, smoking, his fingers twitching as he watched the red and green cubes bounce on the white backdrop. Lambertson watched too, but his eyes were on the girl, not the cubes. It was hard work. Bit by bit she began to grab. Whatever I had felt in her mind seemed to leap up. I probed her, amplifying it, trying to draw it out. It was like wading through knee-deep mud, sticky, sluggish, resisting. I could feel her excitement growing, and bit by bit I released my grip, easing her out, baiting her. "All right," I said. "That's enough." She turned to me wide-eyed. I did it!" Aarons was on his feet, breathing heavily. "It worked?" "It worked. Not very well, but it's there. All she needs is time and help and patience." "But it worked! Lambertson, do you know what that means?" "It means that I was right. It means others can have it, just like she has it." He rubbed his hands together. "We can arrange a full-time lab for it and work on 3 or 4 latents simultaneously. It's a wide-open door, Michael. Can't you see what it means?" Lambertson nodded and gave me a long look. "Yes, I think I do." "I'll start arrangements tomorrow." "Not tomorrow. You'll have to wait until next week." "Why?" "Because Amy would prefer to wait. That's why." Aarons looked at him, and then at me, peevishly. Finally, he shrugged. "If you insist." "We'll talk about it next week," I said. I was so tired I could hardly look up at him. I stood up and smiled at my girl. Poor kid, I thought, so excited and eager about it now, and not one idea in the world of what she was walking into. Certainly Aarons would never be able to tell her. Later, when they were gone, Lambertson and I walked down towards the lagoon. It was a lovely, cool evening. The ducks were down at the water's edge. Every year there was a mother duck herding a line of ducklings down the shore and into the water. They never seemed to go where she wanted them to, and she would fuss and chatter, waddling back time and again to prod the reluctant ones out into the pool. We stood by the water's edge in silence for a long time. Then Lambertson kissed me. It was the first time he had ever done that. "We could go away," I whispered in his ear. "We could run out on errands in the study center and everyone. Just go away somewhere." He shook his head slowly. "Amy, don't." "We could. I'll see Dr. Custer, and he'll tell me he can help. I know he will. I won't need the study center anymore, or any other place, or anybody but you." He didn't answer, and I knew there wasn't anything he could answer. Not then. Friday, 26 May. Yesterday we went to Boston to see Dr. Custer, and now it looks as if it's all over. Now even I can't pretend that there's anything more to be done. Next week Aarons will come down, and I'll go to work with him just the way he has it planned. He thinks we have 3 years of work ahead of us before anything can be published, before he can really be sure we have brought a latent into full use of his psi potential. Maybe so. I don't know. Maybe in 3 years I'll find some way to make myself care one way or the other, but I'll do it anyway, because there's nothing else to do. There was no anatomical defect. Dr. Custer was right about that. The eyes are perfect, beautiful gray eyes, he says, and the optic nerves and auditory nerves are perfectly functional. The defect isn't there. It's deeper, too deep to ever change it. What you no longer use, you lose, was what he said, apologizing because he couldn't explain it any better. It's like a price tag, perhaps. Long ago, before I knew anything at all, the psi was so strong it started compensating, bringing in more and more from other minds, such a wealth of rich, clear, interpreted visual and auditory impressions that there was never any need for my own. And because of that, certain hookups never got hooked up. That's only a theory, of course, but there isn't any other way to explain it. But am I wrong to hate it? More than anything else in the world, I want to see Lambertson, see him smile and light his pipe, hear him laugh. I want to know what color really is, what music really sounds like unfiltered through somebody else's ears. I want to see a sunset, just once. Just once, I want to see that mother duck take her ducklings down to the water. But I never will. Instead, I see and hear things nobody else can, and the fact that I am stone blind and stone deaf shouldn't make any difference. After all, I've always been that way. Maybe next week I'll ask Aarons what he thinks about it. It should be interesting to hear what he says. End of Second Sight by Edward Allen Nourse. Recording by Captain Allegra.